All right, hello, everybody. Welcome back to DangIT Prodcast, the show where we talk about video games, anime, probably not manga today. I'm gonna be honest with you. My name is Justin, and welcome back, everybody. It's a solo pod this time. It's kind of like, yeah. I mean, I really shouldn't be like thinking too much about it because I'm just gonna be like in my head about all of that. But October is definitely not like a good opportunity to do like group stuff. I know I talk primarily about like Phil and his availability. He makes it very clear that October is just not really a good month for him. But I know that I wanted to jump in. I have not heard from him since, and unfortunately, Mark is busy. So here I get to talk to you guys just like one on one. This is otherwise just a typical like dynamic that I have going on when it comes to just like doing like game streams and whatnot, like on like the separate Twitch channel. We are multi-streaming here, so it's kind of like it is pretty much just like that right now. But this is a good opportunity for me to actually talk about Pokemon Legends ZA. It's not often that we're able to just sit down and talk about like one particular video game. Like for the show, we talk about just a whole slew of like different like game news if that's available, and sometimes we'll just talk on the personal. I do have some personal stuff. I guess I should probably just have that be part of like the beginning stuff of things. So I think just to bring it up to you guys and give you guys an update. Last time I talked to you guys about my condition, my little eye problem. I think I was walking in with like glasses for the majority of that podcast, just to be sure and make sure that I could see everything just fine. And things have gotten better as far as like me actually seeing stuff. Like this left eye can actually now pretty much not have like some kind of shadow curtain or whatever they kind of like describe it over there, like at the offices. But essentially that little overlay is hardly there, so I don't really see it as often. But as far as the actual like stuff to like remedy that, just anyway, I do have an update on that one. So what I got, and last time I talked to you guys, it was like something of akin to what would they call it, like a retinal detachment. And to let you guys know, that's a pretty serious thing. It's an emergency class type of thing. Where if that's the case, you definitely want to address that as soon as humanly possible because that can and will lead to vision loss completely. And so, you know, with that being like the big warning in my head, clearly I was kind of freaked out. I was kind of stressed. Last week was like one of the longest weeks. In fact, this has been the longest 2 weeks of the entire process. But I have now since seen like a specialist. I've literally had to like remind them like over and over that, hey, this is an emergency. I would be great if we could kind of like push things along. I don't mean to try to like skip ahead of other people's, appointments, but this is kind of like a really serious thing. And thankfully they were able to comply with that, and I got tested, and it turns out it's actually not severe as a retinal detachment, but it should still be addressed. What I have is called central serous. Serous as in serious without the I is how I like have like looked that up. And it essentially deals with like fluid underneath the retina. So it is kind of like creating like a little bit of a distance between it and the tissue. And so now it's just an issue of just trying to get the fluid out of that so that it just returns back to normal. So now I'm on some appropriate medication for it, eye drops, like some tablet, that kind of stuff. And now I'm just following that strictly for like 2 weeks. So, and the funny thing is that the follow up is actually on my birthday. So when that happens, I'm either going to be walking in with good news that like the fluid is down, therefore like we are averting this serious problem, or I have to be welcomed with an injection in my eye. Where they get to drain out the fluid. So take your poison. I'm hoping it's not the latter. But I gotta do what I gotta do. But they were saying that what attributed to the central serous is a combination of stress and caffeine levels. And I was like, wait, why though? Like, no, I understand that like a combination of the two like would be kind of extreme, but like people who have coffee every day shouldn't like really be like exposed to this, or at least rather I'd hear a little bit more about that, right? And so I was kind of curious about that. I was like, wait, what have I done as far as coffee? I mean, like there are like some days here and there, like now rarely, where I'll just have like double takes of coffee, but those are like it's like 95 like approximately like grams per cup. and I usually will just have like 1 cup per day. And if the general intake is like about 400, I looked this up for somebody, like what really like puts it over? And I was like, oh, I know. Recently, I've been drinking a lot of the Celsius drinks. If you guys don't know what that is, that's a sparkling water energy drink. It has 200 milligrams of like caffeine in it. And so that kind of puts it over sometimes. Not that I ever exceed that, but like that would definitely help attribute to it. And I remember I've been taking that kinda, and I deep down I kind of knew that like it was something I shouldn't be doing, but I was pretty much like taking that like every time I was working out. The only problem is that I was working out like 5 days in a row, so it's like, ugh, not good, not good. So we're cutting that out. In fact, doctor's orders cutting out caffeine for the over course of 2 weeks. It kind of sucks for the person who needs it and enjoys coffee. I think I'll be okay. I think for me personally, coffee has been kind of like a social drink, but also just kind of part of the routine. It's weird. In fact, at a certain point, I was just drinking like, hold on, I got like a list of receipts down below. I don't want to kick those. I should probably move it somewhere else. Yeah, I'll just move it down here. But I would just drink coffee black because it was becoming like it's something that contributes to like my overall like sugar levels and everything like that. And last year I had a pre-diabetic like diagnosis, so I was like, okay, well, let me nip this in the bud and deal with that. I did get to see my primary, and even though they were really more keen on getting me like the appointment to see like a retina specialist, they didn't say anything about like my blood levels. So, and yeah, we did get the blood test and everything like that. So great for now. I guess I'll have to up with them in like 3 months and see like what's really up on that front. But you know, that is to say, all in all, TLDR, I'm just grateful that like it wasn't the worst thing. And yeah, it's really, I guess everyone has like a hit of like of their mortality, and I guess this is kind of mine. Well, I guess mine was like literally last year, so that kind of like put me on the course of that one, and thankfully that's kind of helped contribute to like a better overall check on me. But yeah, it's scary. So yeah, no, I need to stop, you know, pushing that stuff aside and really just follow up when I need to. Which reminds me, I should probably do the same thing with my dentist. Anyway, that's the quick update on my end. So everything seems to be good, and I think everything should just be following as scheduled as far as like programming and everything for the podcast, other like outside streams, the works. But let me talk about something else. I guess I should probably, as a quick side note, before we jump into like our main topic, which is just really Pokemon, something that did come up. It was on the it was TwitchCon. And I bring up TwitchCon because this was actually the year I decided not to go. And it wasn't really for any security or safety concerns on my end. Because it's just me. And I would hope that I'm trying to cultivate like a community where like it's not weird, you know? Regardless, I think what news have recently gotten brought up for TwitchCon, and I guess to fully clarify, the reason I didn't go this time was it's a financial thing. I've been just working on just like building up like a lot of my income and all the money and stuff like that. That's still in the works, and I'll let you guys know by probably January. Tell you guys if there's any like events I'm going to be actually going to aside from Comic-Con. I'm kind of locking that down. Maybe some other events too. It'd be nice to go to Evo for sure, but I think just a general reminder for people. I think it's so weird because like when you go online, you realize the anonymity of like a lot of people, or the anonymous nature, I guess, lack of better words, of how people move, and just like the audacity that they got to just pull the stunts that they get to pull, and not think about like the consequences, or even like for us to be appalled by what consequences they actually receive that is much minor than what should probably be done in those types of acts. I would only ask that people, you know, who know me, or I guess rather not just to know me, but also are just general people who are fans of other folks, or maybe have different opinions from other people, you know, do better. be a better person, you know, behave in a way that you would want to be treated. And that's all I can really say about that kind of stuff, because like honestly, it's crazy what people just do, you know? That is not just out of the norm, out of the ordinary. People would like behave differently here and there, but also just like just simply do that and just think that like that's okay. It isn't. It's not okay. Like and that stuff can be infuriating, but I also can't be in a place where I'm stressing out about this kind of stuff, because otherwise it's going to affect my eyes. So that's what I want to say. TLDR, just do better. Be a kind person. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and just be generally nice. You know, it doesn't hurt to do that. It can be kind of stressful over time, like when you're dealing with things. Like for me, stress is starting to become a me thing, but like a lot of that stuff accumulates like during work, and you know, like I understand because everyone has different circumstances, but you know, it's nice when you just kind of like look back and just you open your eyes to like, I guess I wouldn't say the bigger picture, but just like see things that are like around you, and just think about like how that impacts like one person over another, that kind of stuff. But that's all I really wanted to bring up regarding like recent incidents. Um, Pickups. Let me go ahead and write this down, because as you guys know, this is a one-man type of like production here. Let me go ahead. I need to, what was it? Oh, right. I gotta like put this stuff down here. So pickups, first and foremost, I also apologize. I've been messing with my hair. My hair's been acting out of whack ever since I got out of the shower. So it's like, eh. Well, I guess like decent like credits due, where like it's at least moving in the direction I wanted to go, but it's kind of like all over the place. But the pickup for today, we have Pokemon Legends ZA, the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. This is the game like completely on the cart and everything like that. It's funny enough, I was making an edit about like which one should people get, Switch 1 or Switch 2. And if you're getting physical, you can just simply go for the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Also, real quick, yeah, I was gonna say, like, is there something wrong with my left eye? Oh, yeah, of course, there is something wrong with my left eye. But, yeah, we were talking about this in a podcast before, but if you're getting physical, then you could definitely go for Legend ZA, Nintendo 2. Sorry, Nintendo. Oh, okay. Relax, let's try this again. We were talking about this previously in a podcast before, and yeah, if you're getting physical, we would just pretty much just recommend getting Legend ZA for the Nintendo Switch 2. Well, the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Now, I don't have the red cart here, so just imagine that the red cart is in here. First and foremost, you see a map of Lumio City. Hold on. Very nice, very nice. It's kind of harder to see with like the red casing, but you know, it is what it is. I will also remind everybody, anyone who has the game right now, up until I think February 28th, 2026, you can redeem the Ralts with the required like Mega Evolve item for it. So definitely do that. I can't really say what the judgment stuff on that thing is, how many perfect IVs it might or may not have. Can't say. I don't really know yet. I'm only like 15 hours in, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. That's the whole point of like this episode too. But yeah, so if you get physical, essentially the Nintendo Switch 2 edition upgrade that'll make it the higher resolution, higher frame rate will just be like part of the bundle, and you won't have to download anything additional to it. But if you slot that Nintendo Switch 2 cartridge into a Nintendo Switch 1 console, it will pretty much just run the Nintendo Switch 1 edition, and you won't have to think about it like beyond that. DLC is not included on that one. That's actually still separate. But when you do that, and you then eventually down the line you get the Nintendo Switch 2, you can still plop the same cartridge, the red cartridge, into it, and it will just already have like the upgrade to it. So it's very, very nice. Now I haven't been testing that out like personally, but it's just one of those things where like Phil has done like the research like ahead of time, and he can vouch that like stuff like that does happen. However, I do want to add that this is kind of difficult, because this works perfectly well for those who just like do physical like collection stuff. But if you're getting this game like digitally, that would just not be an option. I don't know how that's gonna work out. Could you possibly gift someone, like, let's say in a hypothetical scenario, sorry, in like a hypothetical scenario, if I had like the Nintendo Switch 2 and I wanted to gift someone the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Legends ZA just so they have that, but ultimately speaking, they have just a Nintendo Switch 1, would it still work on that front, or is it going to be kind of like a weird type of thing? That's what I don't know about. So, I mean, we could try to. I mean, if we had more funds, we'd already figured this out and tested this out. We're talking about Mark, but I don't know. That's something I haven't even like thought about. But maybe someone, some forums here and there will already have figured it out. But yeah, no. So, ooh, should I talk about this? I was gonna talk about the sorry, the Xbox ROG Ally X. Or no, it's the ROG Xbox Ally X. Why do I get so mixed up with that name? But there's reviews going up for that one. I was kind of perplexed by that because I was like, wait, isn't it already out? Like, why are we getting the reviews now? I was like, oh, no. That was pre-orders. Now people are getting it. Yeah, no. I think otherwise, I think I've said my piece. I don't think I have anything else to really add to the conversation when it comes to the ROG allies. But let's actually get into the meat of the conversation at hand and the video itself, and that is first impressions for Legends ZA. This is coming from a guy who's been playing the game for like about 15 hours. 15 hours in. I don't know how well I can really. It's tough. I'm gonna try to avoid spoilers as much as possible for this conversation, but I think as just a general blanket, well, yeah, blanket generalization of things, it's great. I am. I can't say I'm like the biggest fan of Pokemon, but I found myself kind of recently in the past couple years gravitating more and more towards Pokemon stuff, in the form of just like doing content about it because it's the one that's just been kind of working. I'm not gonna lie. The whole backstory in that one was that I did some postings here and there on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in this case, and I was just kind of exploring this thing that was posted, I think from Austin John Plays, and it was just me, quote unquote. Well, yeah, I was sequence breaking the game like early on, and that just got crazy amount of views. I mean, I understand now why that worked, but it was just one of those random things where on that little TikTok account, I was just kind of like throwing things on the wall just to see what stuck. And over the past like few years, or I guess a year or so, that I was like posting on that like on that account, that was the one that blew up. So from there, I've just been kind of sticking to playing like Pokemon a little bit more consistently in the form of posting things, and uh it's kind of like awoken something as far as like a kind of a passion and love for like the series. And going through this, it made me like kind of like confirm that, cement that. I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm a pretty decently big Pokemon fan at this point. If I'm like one posting about it, but also just kind of like thinking about it, like when I'm not playing it. It's crazy. It's fun to have like those moments early on in the Pokemon launch where you're just kind of like so fixated on doing this and that and this and that. But then like that's how a lot of people feel when they play through like any game that releases like within that window. Like I think I was like that with what was the Souls-like game. But I don't, why am I, oh god. Rise, Tarnish. But why can I not remember that name? The name of the game. I'm Elden Ring. Oh my god. I had to do a quick search. That's aside the point. This game's pretty fantastic in my eyes. If you were playing through Legends ZA, or sorry, if you're playing through Legends Arceus, I forget. Wait, what's the appropriate? I think it's Arceus. I keep saying Arceus, thinking that was the other thing. Let's say Arceus. Legends Arceus was I would say like one of my favorite like Pokemon games like to date, and it was the side off. It was just something that was kind of like separated from like the main story of things, and to an extent they still kind of keep it separated, but they also will pull in like some the gimmicks, the different forms and whatnot, and they'll integrate that into the mainline games. And I feel that it's going to be the exact same thing with this one. But I felt that with the release of Legends Arceus, Scarlet and Violet kind of like took a lot of notes from that game and applied it to like their open world game, and I think for the better, because I felt that Scarlet and Violet was a little bit more like freeform exploration, and the way that you can kind of play through that game and just choose how you want to clear through things, that was nice. That was a nice change of pace. And with Legends ZA, it definitely is not trying to do that per se, but it is incorporating a lot of the Legends mechanics where you are like freeform, like moving. You are playing as the trainer. There's no situation where you're ever playing as the Pokemon, and you can kind of feel that way, like in a turn-based situation, like in the standard traditional formula where you are selecting the moves and everything. I think Pokepark was the only like type of game that well, aside from Mystery Dungeon, I should say, where you are controlling the Pokemon themselves and making those moves. In this game, even with the Pokemon out and the like the real time battling and just the freedom of movement, just to move across like the little battlefield you'll be set up with, it's still you as the trainer making the calls. And I think that creates a different type of experience that is just kind of like a level above like what the battle mechanics were with Legends Arceus. And I think for the better, to be honest, because as much as I miss like the open world, just like freeform like movement that is kind of absent from here, I think they've really kind of refined and fine tuned a couple of things, such as like not having the agile and power moves or the strong moves. I from Legends Arceus had like the agile and the power or strong like move like adapted into like your play style, and it made sense until it didn't. Because like as an RPG fan or just any RPG gamer who like knows the ins and outs of like if you move first, that means you're faster. But in Legends Arceus' sense, you move faster and you do an agile move, you move like 2 or 3 times ahead of the opponent. So in the meta, or at least in like a standard battle, it's kind of hard to really like track exactly when you'll be able to really move. I think there was a turn cycle, so that kind of helped out too. But in this case, um, they completely do away with that with the form of like cooldown times for your moves, and those will kind of vary from like ranged moves being like kind of like the longest to take for charging, and then the close range ones are kind of like your faster ones, especially if they're like priority based moves from the past, like quick attack or aqua jet. Like those will like charge like pretty quickly, but in expends like they don't do a lot of damage. There's also like status moves, and I like that there is like a level of like maneuverability around them in the sense that you can change it out. I think early on when I was playing through this game, I was trying my best to have my Pokemon like move around and dodge some attacks here and there, but I found that it wasn't always like really, really good. Like priority moves, you're screwed. You can't dodge those. You can't like move anywhere fast enough to deal with those, and like things that have like a physical like space that like pretty much takes up like your hitbox, which is like a bite move. Like the giant like teeth will just like show up and like start chomping like right in front. You can't really like move like around that. You might be able to move backwards, but you'd have to like really see that coming, you know? And I think there is a way you can otherwise dodge those moves, and that's actually to like time your swaps between Pokemon at the exact same time. But I think they've already counteracted that by like I guess the cooldown time it takes for your Pokemon to spawn into the fight to when you're able to actually have them move and use like an actual like attack or any other move. So I've been kind of like working around that, but I think ultimately speaking, the battle mechanics will be very much so familiar with standard traditional Pokemon formula, but will have like a twist of the cooldown time and some like level like of maneuverability, but it's not like exactly something you can really take advantage of, I would say. So that's my take on like the gameplay there. Um, I will say though, I think this is definitely a breath of fresh air with that one too, because I think I'm thinking about like the games like or the move sets a little bit differently. I'm just talking strictly about the combat right now, where I I'm thinking about things differently. Usually I do have like the stab move, the same type move that you have with your Pokemon. Sometimes they have two of those because they're dual typing. And then you'll have maybe a coverage move and maybe a status move and everything like that. In traditional Pokemon sense, I run the more aggressive style when playing through like the main game because that's kind of what's been encouraged, and like that's how it was in the past as well. Like without experience share like applying to everybody, it was really difficult for you to raise a Pokemon that's mainly for like status and like for support. Like if you had like a Fortress, for example, and you let's say it knows Baton Pass, and you just do Iron Defense on it, and you just swap it out, like that's tactically viable, sure, but like in the main base game, like that's essentially overdoing it, and you're making it really difficult for you to actually raise that fortress along with you like throughout the journey. And so as a result, I always just taught myself that in the main game, aggressiveness usually just kind of wins out. So you might as well hit your opponents like with offense all the time. And for the most part, I was always rewarded for that one. So I think recent games have like really made it easier for people to like just kind of change up like tactics here and there. You'll still grow like pretty. I think the growth rate for those support mons are going to be like a little bit slower if they don't like aren't if they're not in charge of like offensive stuff. But it's otherwise a little bit easier to accommodate for that type of play style as well. In this case, like everything's kind of like thrown in like over my head, mainly because of the fact that I don't have like all the Pokemon like on my team, and I'm still like early on into things. So my particular tactic when going through Legends ZA is just have a Pokemon that has a stab move to it, have a coverage move, have a status move, maybe a priority here and there, but like that fourth option is kind of whatever, and that's kind of like the mean bones for that. And the reason for that is so that you can actually cycle between the moves. Ideally, in like standard formula, you're just kind of like hitting Pokemon with like your stab move or super effective move, and that's about it. Unless you want to like apply like status move, you're not really trying to hit them up with like any other move, right? But I found that in Legends ZAs, I will have two or three moves I will actually just physically like cycle through in a fight. And the reason for that is so that I can accommodate for the cooldown time of the previous move I just used. So the idea is that I'm hitting someone like 3 times, and I'm trying to loop that around. So there's never like just like some dead air time of me just waiting and just kind of moving around. I mean, there's a little bit of tactics about that too, sure, when you're just like moving around just to avoid attacks here and there. It really is effective when it comes to some of the longer range moves that have like a directional like have a direction of the attack. Certain moves will just have like a homing aspect to it, and that's not really great for you. If you're dealing with Fire Spin or Whirlpool, then like yeah, you definitely want to just have your Pokemon be moving around. But other than that, it's kind of like it's definitely circumstantial, and you'll have to like really observe the opponent in order to know exactly what they're going to be trying to do. I don't even want to think about what the meta is like or playing online with folks is going to be like, but that's what I've like noticed so far. But but yeah, cycling through different moves just so like you're like continuing to like pound on the HP of your opponent and to like lessen the amount that's taken on your end because you're probably gonna get hit. So there's that aspect. One thing I really loved about the Legends games so far is the fact that you don't actually have to engage in combat all the time. You can actually just like catch them like from behind. I've noticed myself doing a lot more battle and engagements like in this one, but I think that's mainly because I'm lower level and I don't really have a lot of access to like better like Pokeballs or use them that much. I've been using still Pokeballs and Great Balls. Great Balls have been Great Balls have been great. So that's pretty nice. But I would love to have like the Ultra Balls as well. There's also a mechanic that they're adding in here. They're plushes. I think they're called Canary plushes. They're attributed towards like I guess a streamer in game. But those plushes themselves are key items that you'll hold on to that will give you higher chances of like said this or said that. One of them is increases chances of caption or sorry, increases your catch rate, just generally speaking. Another one is for just added experience over time. So those are some priority ones I want to lock in on, but they're locked away by these colorful screws that you find throughout Lumio City. So I'm trying to work on making a video about that. So I haven't really been collecting those, so I don't really have a lot of say about like this or that and this and that. So yeah, I'm working on that. Needless to say, but yeah, I love just kind of roaming around the city. I like just at a neutral speed, just running alongside my Pokemon, which it kind of sucks because I think some of the starters you can't really like run alongside. For me personally, I picked Totodile. That was kind of like my randomizer. I picked like a different starter that wasn't going to be like the same type that I usually pick, which is grass. So I chose Totodile, but unfortunately Totodile doesn't run fast enough. Feraligatr does though. It's great. So Totodile like falls behind. Croconaw is decent and can keep up pretty well. And then Feraligatr can literally just outspeed me neutral. I think for the most part, most Pokemon won't be able to run as fast as you when you like are sprinting. But neutral speed, it kind of depends. It's a video idea. I'll probably work on that. But the exploration and the material farming, because I like that too about Legends Arceus, that you had like materials you have to farm out. Granted, I think it was a little bit more intensive when it came to Legends Arceus, and here it's a little bit more subdued because you're coming across these like little mega shards that you'll be using for something later. So for me, I would definitely recommend that y'all like, especially since there's a slew of them just out there in the city, always spawning back in. So definitely prioritize towards doing that. I also want to apologize, guys. I've been looking at like my cam and it looks like my like left eye is like super crazy red, and I was like, that's kind of weird because I've been kind of otherwise been using it normally, but I think that might be because of like my low condition. So if you guys are looking at that and you're kind of concerned about it, it's like, yeah, I'm looking at the camera, I'm also kind of concerned about it, but it's otherwise not like a crazy deal, and I am kind of dealing with it. But back to the Pokemon talks here and there. It's like it's just kind of a thing where, and I'm not even talking about like all the different things going on. Let's talk about the exploration. Exploration, there's a lot of it. There are a lot of like pickup items that I end up like picking up throughout everything. I do tend to work on like breaking down all these little like mega shard things. Just for the sake of collection, and that it would serve me later, and it has, definitely. So I definitely recommend picking up as much as you humanly can. Don't ignore like most of that kind of stuff. Just make the time to just run towards that item just for a pickup. And yeah, just kind of keep up with that flow. I found that I do that in between like walking from like one place to another, just naturally speaking. There is a fast travel like component, and I will use that here and there, but I am still in part of the course of like still kind of exploring the city and just finding like new waypoints to fast travel to. So I think if you're just playing like without any type of rush to it, and I'm not gonna criticize anyone who's just trying to rush to the game, but I'm definitely just kind of taking my time with it. It should come naturally to you. Now, there are two different things that they kind of like emphasize like early on in the game, and that is to go into the wild areas and then go into the battle royale. Both of them can be emphasized to be done like daytime and nighttime respectively. In the wild areas, you can take them on like at any point in time, but the battle royales strictly take place at night. But talking about the wild areas, they're segmented areas where the wild Pokemon will appear. And as you progress through the game, you get more wild areas unlocked. Apparently, there are 20 of them. And so far, I don't really have many issues with them. I think early on, though, they do kind of feel like there's not really a lot going on with them. One of them's just an urban street. The second one that you'll go to is a little bit more of a park oriented thing. And then I think they will start to evolve like further out along the way. But otherwise, you will see these as more urban, like contained environments for wild Pokemon just to like show up. But that being said, you will be able to encounter and catch and even battle Pokemon outside of those wild areas. You just have to assume that like in the wild areas that it's on site with you for some of them. So just that's the FYI. And I think a certain recurring type of Pokemon from a previous Legends game that was kind of the gimmick there. You'll see them, but after you've done like a very early side quest. That's why I will say. So those will primarily show up in the wild areas exclusively. So, and that makes sense because they're kind of a menace otherwise. So be warned about that. Talking about the battle royale stuff. Well, I guess. Well, actually, hold on. Let me shift over back to the wild area aspect. I think it's okay. I think it's nice to actually have like a little bit of a distinction between the two. If we're strictly talking about Legends Arceus versus Legends ZA, it is essentially a difference between having like an open hub world where you're just free to just do whatever, like go shopping or craft stuff or just interact with your Pokemon versus like going out there in the wilderness where, yeah, you can still interact with your Pokemon, but like you're otherwise having to deal with the elements. Wild Pokemon that are either like fleeing away from you or they are actually aggro with you. That's something to always consider. And the way that they address this in, the fixed hub world of like Lumio City is to actually make segmented like wild area stuff where like things like that can just simply happen like just seamlessly so long as you want to just like fast travel or just like walk directly to it. So that's the way they kind of do it. I kind of like that. I think that is as cool as it is to have like different biomes here and there. It's like I don't know if I have anything to really articulate about when it comes to the distinction between two and which one I like better. I think both of them have like strong points to those. I think that Legends Arceus had like much more of a level of freedom like in those wild areas, especially when you start like getting some of those ride Pokemon. In this case, in Legends ZA, you're just kind of on the ground and you're just kind of like traversing the environment where you're crouching in the tall grass or you're climbing like scaffolders like here and there. Um, it's kind of just a different experience. I don't think I like one more than the other. In this case, I kind of like both. I was thinking about how I guess the throwing mechanics for the Legends games have been kind of consistent between two. I just feel like Legends 8 is a little bit more like kind of rigid, but not in like a bad way, in a way that's just functional, you know? Like more often than not, I'm not just gonna like throw blindly like at like a Pokemon without locking in on it. And you can still kind of do that in both games. But I feel like it's a little bit more, it's hard to really explain like control wise, but it does feel a little bit more rigid. But I don't think it's for bad. I don't think it's a bad thing about it. But I guess if there was a critique, there isn't really much like variety incorporated into these, so that's that. Okay, so the battle royale stuff. I like that there are just like more like trainer battles. And the way that they like approach it here is a little bit different because you can't have just straightforward like battles, and you will have those here and there, but for the battle royale, it's a little bit different where it's actually on site with you. I guess taking it like a level extreme where in previous Pokemon games it really was on site, but it's also pixelated and also just like rigid, so it has to be in their line of sight. Here it's like, okay, yeah, that still happens, but they also add the mechanic of stealth and to have like sneak attacks. And the reason they want to do those is to one, have an advantage in the battle, but also because it also it will also contribute towards these points that you'll gain, these tickets. You only have to do one ticket, and it's for the promotional match that you'll have like shortly after, where it will determine if you'll be able to challenge that one particular trainer for the promotional match. And if you win that, you go up one rank. So it's a rank from Z to A, hence the title, the game. And there's a couple things I could talk about, but it's otherwise kind of spoilery, and I don't really want to bring it up. But you may be hearing a little bit of discourse as to like the approach of that one, about like, repetitiveness and, et cetera, et cetera. It's an interesting topic, and I would love to talk a little bit more about that, but we'll probably elaborate that. Maybe give it another week. Give it another week for other people to kind of just like have their feel for it, because that is kind of like the main pulls of the game, where it seems like the cycle or the routine would be to go to wild areas, catch Pokemon, and raise them, and then at night you would be fighting against other trainers to get more experience, but also to get yourself like a rank up, so you reach that A rank. To what means for that, and what's the purpose of that, they will tell you in the story. But I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I wanted to bring up. Oh, I do want to bring up. I have a little bit of a criticism. It's about like the customization of the character. Granted, it's it's like leagues way better than what Scarlet and Violet had, because Scarlet and Violet was so focused on like you having like the school uniform, and you have like 4 different seasons, and they would also have like some DLC stuff here and there that was just kind of a little like a deviation from that, but it's otherwise still kind of like part of that dress code for the school. And then like there was other places where you'd be able to stylize like hats or helmets or like your shoes. Like those are okay, but otherwise like the top and your like the bottoms have to be like school coded. People had different takes on that. I think everyone was like super. People didn't like that. People really didn't like that at the beginning, and then people got really quiet about that. And then when this game came out, people started really complaining about like how it used to be back then versus how it is now. I got used to it. I also understand like that argument, but I will say, aside from all that, I am glad. I'm glad that we have customization of our characters. The downside though is that there's not a lot of stuff for me, I would say. I was able to find some stuff that I can kind of work it out, but as far as the hair, like I only saw like for me personally, there was only like 2 styles I could kind of work with. It was like the ones I'm wearing now, which is kind of like short hair, but it was kind of like a mess all around. And then like there was a kind of a shorter style from what the main male MC has, where it's just kind of like it's kind of longish everywhere else, and there's just kind of like this weird thing like up front that's like combed on the side, and I think that's the closest to my hairstyle. But I wanted one that was a little bit shorter and kind of more like this, if that makes sense. But they don't actually have like it, and I'll be honest with you, it is kind of a boring hairstyle, like because I think a lot of like dudes may end up having this like style normally, so like I understand if they want to just like kind of change it up, but they didn't have that one. They didn't have like a short-ish type of like comb over type of style. They have a like, I guess like a combed back style. If you have just long hair, generally speaking, and you just like comb it all the way back, that's a style there. But there are a lot of like longer hairstyles that like just don't really like suit me. And I kind of feel the same way about like clothing and everything like that. I feel like there's not a lot of clothes that like appeal to me. I was able to find some, so it's out there, but I have to literally like look up like boutique shops like online about like, okay, where are they in Lumio City? There's like 5 of them, and when you find them, you find them. But I hope that everyone finds something that they're like really looking forward to. But it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of difficult for me to find something that works for me. I have like 2 different styles I'm working out with, and there's like there's actually one boutique shop that's actually like locked away from me because they're saying like this is only for like the really stylish. And I'm like, how do I how do I prove that? Because it's the shop that actually has like suits. And I was like, okay, yeah, we can make that work. I don't. I'm only 15 hours in, so I actually don't. I don't really know how to get that. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's weird. Um, yeah, that was kind of a weird thing. I think that was kind of important for me as well to kind of like get out of that style. I really wanted to like personalize like my character. and I was able to make something work out, but it was definitely kind of a challenge to kind of look at what I got available like in the areas I've been to, and I was like, this, like, they're cool, but I don't know if I really like them like that much, you know? Like they had like a pullover like sweater, and I was like, you know what? It's not bad in motion, like, but if I'm just standing there like that, it just like makes me like extra wide. And I was like, okay. And I also wanted to make sure that I had like an appearance where I didn't need the hat because at the time, or at least at this time right now, hats are not like really my particular style, so kind of important to have that. Is there anything else I wanted to kind of bring up as far as like the impressions of Legends ZA? I think it's good so far. I think you would also want to keep in mind that as you're playing through the game, the main loop is not necessarily just like the wild areas to going to the battle royales, or at least so far. They might want to. I think they're going to try to change it up here and there because I'm at a point in the story like main mission 12 or something like that where they're talking more about the mega evolution like battles that you'll have, the ones that you've already seen in trailers and whatnot. So it's not really a spoiler. So you'll be like fighting those ones, and I don't know how many of those are waiting me. I just know that there is. If people are wondering about like traversal in the city, it's kind of all right. You need these like hollow elevators, the hollowator, excuse me, to get up to certain buildings here and there if there's not a ladder accessible to you. And I think there's a way to kind of traverse those easily between buildings. And you've seen those in trailers in the form of you using a rotom to kind of like double jump across. I'm not there yet. 15 hours and I'm still not really there yet. So I've been kind of holding off on that, especially when it came to those colorful screws, because I think it'd just be cleaner if I just did those in one go. But yeah, just, keep that in mind. I know that personally I've been trying to play through Legends ZA using Pokemon I just don't ever use. That turned out to be a little bit of an issue as far as like certain things. I have a Feraligatr. I have well, I guess the exception. Well, I have to change that. I have like Feraligatr. I have Absol. I have what was it? I got Floette, right? I got who was it? Delphox. I'm missing two. Oh, Honedge. For some reason, I never used Honedge, and I haven't evolved it yet. It's taken a while. I'm like, when is this homie gonna evolve? I thought it was gonna be in the 20s, but now you're at level 30. And then there's a sixth one. Hold on. I think I have this guy like on at just sleep mode. So, oh, okay. Yeah, it was Amora. Amora, the fossil Pokemon from actually this generation for X and Y. It's the other option from Tyrant, which was like my favorite. I love Tyrant. So I wanted to go with something different. So in that case I chose them, but that's the current team so far. Oh, also, I am using, I think I haven't really been showing it off, but I have the JSOX overall grip. It's the one that actually allows me to like pull it off from the grip. So there's a grip that they incorporated with the Switch too, but they make it like split so that you can just do this and have it like docked and everything like that. It's been really good for handheld play, but also just like when I'm playing through Mario Galaxy. I've been playing that for a little bit. That's actually been really good. I think that's pretty much it as far as first impressions. It's been pretty solid. The things I love about the Legends EA, and I guess I can extend out to like Legends like Arceus as well, as the fact that it feels a little bit more personal as far as like my time with the Pokemon. And I guess I didn't really feel that way with Scarlet and Violet per se. Or at least I don't recall. It's because of the fact there was more of like a forward momentum in like doing things here and there, because I think what ends up happening is that you introduce a faster way to get around places, and that is kind of counterintuitive for like spending time with Pokemon, like as far as like running alongside them. And I feel like without the need for like a ride Pokemon, and you're just using like fast travel, or you're just kind of like roaming around the city and exploring and stuff, it makes a little bit more sense just to have your Pokemon out and spend more time with them. They also provide like photo ops like with them through like like ordering coffee or tea, and you'll just be at a place where you can choose to like have them, or you have a photo op opportunity. And there's also like benches as well, where now I found out that you can just let your Pokemon like all of them out freely, and they'll just kind of chill out. You have an opportunity to take photos there as well, but I think it's a little bit more personal, and I think that's why I really kind of wanted from a Pokemon game, is one that lets me actually like journey alongside them in a way that isn't just like just strictly battling. Although I guess yeah, you get a lot of connections there too. But I think that's pretty much it. It's super solid so far. The question is it worth it though? I guess that's the main question, right? So right now, Pokemon Legends ZA on the Nintendo Switch 2 edition is like $70, and if you get the DLC, which is available same day, right? For $30, it makes it $100. I can't say anything about the DLC, so I'm not gonna like, I'm not gonna even like, entertain that. But regardless, you are talking about like paying a lot of things just to have all the content for like $100. Is that worth it? Maybe not. I'm gonna be honest with you. But as far as the main base game stuff, $60, $70. Like there's the Nintendo Switch 1 edition, which is the $60. I think it's obviously the safe answer is it depends. But I would otherwise say that to each their own. To each their own. Personally, I don't mind it. I don't mind spending like the money for like a new Pokemon experience, right? As long as it feels like a full-fledged game, and personally I feel like it is indeed a full-fledged game. Again, not talking about the DLC here, because yeah, I have a different opinion about like having DLC, especially put out there before the game releases, you know? Oh man. It's always a difficult conversation to have with people. It's like, is it worth it? Like, I think personally for me, yeah. I also think that I'm pretty sure if I played through like Digimon Stories Time Stranger, that'd also be very much so worth it too. People are making the comparisons for sure, and I guess that can't be helped. I do really want to play through Digimon though. I really do. I really do. Hopefully, I have time for that. Yeah, we have November, December, and that's about it. And it's like, okay, so I'm kind of playing through this like pretty heavily. Next month is going to be Hyrule Warriors, and that probably shouldn't take too much time, but like in between that is gonna be like Hades, and it's gonna be Kirby Air Riders, and it's like, oh my god, dude, this is intense. And then December, Metroid. Insane, insane. But I think that's everything, guys. Yeah, it's almost been like kind of close to an hour. Not bad, not bad. Yeah, I guess it's the TLDR. Like it's great. It's great so far, and hopefully I'll have more to talk about. I hope that we actually have more opportunities to just sit down and talk about a video game, just generally speaking. It can be really tough though, because I think a lot of us have like different games that we want to play, and we don't really get to talk too much about like certain specific ones because everyone's just playing something different, you know? It would be nice. I think what we should probably do going forward, if there isn't opportunities for us to talk about like game news, if it's like a slow week, talk about a game that like really speaks to us and see if we can actually like elaborate. Get the brains, get the gears going. We need to make more Tanuki videos too. But anyway, we'll go ahead and call it here, guys. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to add. It's otherwise a pretty slow week, so it was an opportunity for me to talk about like this game as I dig further into it. Yeah. But man, dude. All right. We'll go ahead and call it here. Thank you all so much for tuning in for this episode of DangIT Prodcast. It's been episode, what was it, 563. My name is Justin, and thanks for watching, everybody. #bye, everybody.